I think there's one thing that we can all agree on when it comes to Zelda enemies. They are all pretty creepy, but besides creepy, most of you guys don't realize that these enemies can also be absolutely disgusting. Today we are looking at the Zelda franchise and looking at the top 15 most disgusting enemies or bosses from the Legend of Zelda franchise. All enemies and bosses are available within this video, but there could also just be an enemy archetype that only appears in a specific game. For instance, an Octorok, but only the Octorok in Majora's Mask. So before we get started, go ahead and put down your top 3 in the comments down below and see if you were right at all. And also, before we get started, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you guys enjoy the Zelda content and anything Nintendo to stay up to date on anything Nintendo. But thank you guys so much, and without further ado, let's get into our list of the top 15 most disgusting Zelda enemies. Coming in at number 15, we have the Beamos from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. If you've seen these guys, normally in all the Zelda games they're just statues that shoot lasers, but in Ocarina of Time, they're these big eyeballs with a nose and a crazy huge mouth that just looks disgusting. Now, they don't do really anything disgusting themselves besides just shoot a laser out. It's not really disgusting, but they just look gross. It's just like a stretched out head that is a defensive mechanism for any room that you enter. I don't like it. It's number 15 because it's not the grossest, of course, but it's pretty gross. Number 14, we have Like-Likes. Like-Likes are these weird amoeba creatures in the Zelda franchise that suck you in and take something that you have, like your shield or your sword, and they can be very annoying but very gross. They even make a gross sound as they're slurping on your body, but overall, they're just a disgusting enemy from any Zelda game that you see them in. Now, Choo-Choos come in very different shapes and forms in all the Zelda games, and normally are just little slime balls with no faces, and that's it. But unfortunately, this game, they look terrible. They look like little boogers, and they just look like snot running across the ground, and they just look gross. They look just nasty, wet, sopping, just dripping. I'm sorry, guys. I had to explain it this way. There's nothing else to say about these guys. Just look at them. For number 12, guys, I'm sorry in advance. I pronounce this man in many different ways. Girahim, whatever you want to say. Girahim, this guy. So, this guy may be very creepy, alright? Girahim is a very creepy figure in Zelda, and he's just very weird, if anything. But how is he disgusting? Well, if you played any of the game, you'll know his tongue has no boundaries. His tongue will flip and flather and fling everywhere on the screen, all by Link's face, and even licking his own sword. Just wait till this guy finds out about COVID. Now, after talking about the apprentice, we can talk about the imprisoned. The imprisoned is just kind of goofy. Demise is kind of capulated in this weird whale creature, but it's only disgusting once you realize the appendages that you have to strike with your sword. That's the fingers and the toes. And they don't look like fingers and toes. Well, the toes actually kind of look like toes, but besides that, they're like big bulging masses of pus that you have to break open. I'm sorry, guys. When you slice his toes, you can actually see like the splash of his toes busting. It's absolutely filthy disgusting. I don't understand why that was a concept. You have to cut his fingers off and his toes off. This is more disgusting with what you do with the boss rather than the boss itself, but he definitely has to be included. For number 10, we have a trifecta of gross plants within the Zelda franchise. We have Baronade from Ocarina of Time, Diababa from Twilight Princess, and Kali Demos from Wind Waker. Baronade is more of a parasite than a plant that resides in the belly of Lord Jabu Jabu that has infected him, and you have to destroy this thing. It's got gross little jellyfish flying around and a whole bunch of veins and cords coming out of him. It's just absolutely gross the way he spins around the room and shoots out liquids as well. Diababa has different types of heads for piranha plants that come out the sides and an eyeball that comes out of its main mouth. It sits in a giant pond of poison goop, and it's just a very disgusting boss. And Kali Demos is probably the least disgusting of all of them, as it's seriously just a big plant, and all you have to do is take down its roots in order to drop it and attack the middle. But these are just some very gross plant, insect, parasitic creatures. Bilocite is actually a parasite that resides in Levias, and it controls him, and you have to defeat it in order to get Levias back to normal. And this is just a very gross creature. There's eyeballs come out the sides of Levias coming out of his barnacles. It's just absolutely disgusting, and you have to shoot the eyeballs and bust the barnacles in order to squirt his juices all over the sky, and then eventually take him on the head of Levias, which he's also disgusting. He spits things at Link, and you have to hit it back, and he's just got goop and everything everywhere, and then when you defeat him, it's just goop splashes. It's a disgusting parasite that definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 8, we have Guineas. Guineas are little tiny boo-like creatures that go around with one eye and just grab you. And it's just like, why are they so disgusting compared to everything else that we've seen so far? Well, they absolutely seen COVID around the world and do not care, because they grab you and literally lick all over your body. Yes, they're like Gyrahim on literal crack. Link popsicles are definitely in, I guess. Is he liking it? Next up, we have the Twilight Arachnid. Now, this one is more just based on who you are. To me, I hate spiders. I literally can't stand them. And it's more creepy crawly than it is gross, I'll give you that. But to me, this is a super gross enemy. It is a giant metallic half hybrid regular metallic spider thing. It's disgusting. It's got hairs all over it. It's got a giant eyeball on its back. Literally, this is the thing that would freak me out the most out of probably anything in Zelda if I saw it in real life. I cannot handle spiders, so a gigantic spider would freak me out. This is just gross to me. I really can't explain all the gross attributes of it. It's just, if you are afraid of spiders, you definitely understand where I'm coming from. Now, Reed Deads are definitely creepy and they're definitely scary, but they can also be gross. First off, Reed Deads have a ear-piercing scream that can just completely make the hairs on your arms and legs stand up because it's just terrifying. But then they slowly walk towards you, and it's not until, boom, they jump on top of you, wrapping their arms and legs around you and kind of like groping you, and it's just absolutely disgusting. They got their head all over you. Sometimes it looks like they're even biting you. It's just nasty the way they, I mean, literally no one in this game knows how to quarantine. At least put on a mask, for crying out loud. These guys are just disgusting. Well, actually, I guess these guys do have masks. Number 5, we have the Twilight Bloat from Twilight Princess. It is a giant water lake beetle thing, and it is disgusting. It also looks like a parasite, as it has different types of veins and cords coming out of its stomach, and it looks disgusting. It squirts juices everywhere, and defeating it is just as disgusting. You have to throw it onto the lake and jump on top of it as Wolf Link, and bite and take off all of the different cords and tubing coming out of its stomach, and it's just absolutely disgusting. It is a nasty boss, that's for sure. Number 4, we have Deku Toad from, of course, Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is just a disgusting game. I'm coming to that realization. But Deku Toad is a giant frog, snail hybrid creature, and he is very disgusting. Has a very long, nasty tongue, and he spits things all over the place, lays eggs, and it is just nasty. And your goal is to just keep grabbing his tongue, hitting his tongue, throwing things in his mouth, and letting it detonate. But this guy just looks like he stinks. It looks like it just reeks in the battle room, and Link, he's got to put up a fight because this guy is terribly gross. Number 3, we have Ganon from Breath of the Wild. Phase 1 Ganon is absolutely disgusting. He actually starts off by kind of making himself and creating some type of body form inside of a egg sack at the top of the courtroom of Hyrule Castle, and he kind of just sits up there until Link comes in. He has no choice but to fight, and I'm pretty sure he's fighting incomplete. His whole true form wasn't able to be made in time, so he has to fight Link with what he has. And it's just a combination of weapons and mechanical pieces all put together on flesh and meat body, and it's just absolutely disgusting looking. It doesn't even look like a thing. Like, you don't even know what you're fighting, and when he starts moving with all of his legs and appendages and arms crawling on the wall and stuff, it is absolutely terrifying. It is probably the most disgusting, weird version of Ganon that we have ever seen, and it definitely is nightmare fuel and gross in the same formula. Number 2, we have both Wart and Argus. They're pretty much the same enemy, but starting off with Wart, there's a whole bunch of like eyeball bubbles that surround a giant eyeball in the center, and it's just kind of disgusting. As you're pulling off these eyeballs or these warts and trying to hit his eye, it's just absolutely nasty. And when you think of it as warts on an eyeball, it gets even gross. Like, it's just not okay. Argus is a second form of this that started off in Link to the Past, but then we've seen again in some future installments of Zelda games on the 3DS, and it's just the same kind of concept. You might not be pulling off warts or eyeballs this time, but you're definitely pulling off some type of like cloud things that's on the body of this giant eyeball, squid, octopus, jellyfish thing, and it's just a disgusting boss. It just, when you really think about pulling off crusty warts from an eyeball, it really starts to get to you. Coming in as the number 1 most disgusting enemy within the Zelda franchise, it could also be the number 1 most terrifying and horrific enemy as well. That being Dead Hand. Dead Hand in Ocarina of Time is truly a crazy enemy, and the design is just, it makes me wonder what the heck the developers were on, because these things are just these white cloaked figures with a creepy face that crawl slowly in a room. but they disappear. They go into the ground and there's nothing but their hands sticking up, and if you go near their hand, they'll jump out, the hands will grab you, and it is a scary situation. They're covered in like blood splatter, which is already disgusting, but they'll come to you and grab you and try to eat you or something. It's from them just raising out of the ground with the hands sticking out of the ground and them jumping all over you and the dried blood all over them. It's just absolutely nightmare fuel, and probably without a doubt the most disgusting enemy within the Zelda franchise. Get your bloody hands off me. You see what I did there? But how did you guys do? Did you predict any of these to be at least in the top 5, top 10? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to see the most disgusting enemies, because this was just a gross video once again. If you guys want to see the top disgusting Mario enemies, there will be an end card for this at the very end of the video. Make sure you click on that video and go give that a watch as well. But thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all things Nintendo all the time. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. See you guys.